Introduce Alain Burrese, who is a black belt communicator. Under this banner, he provides speeches and workshops on effective communication, communicating in conflict, negotiating, and relative communicating skills. Besides his professional speaking and training, he has been in and out of various Toastmaster clubs since 1997, and he is here today to share with us some strategies to make the most out of our Toastmaster meetings. Please help me welcome Alain Burrese, the black belt communicator, and his presentation, Toastmasters, the keys to successful communication. Alain.
Effective communication is one of the most important skills you can develop. Without a doubt, improving your communication skills will lead you down the path to success both personally and professionally. But you know that. That's why you're here in this meeting. Toastmasters provides one of the greatest experiences, learning experiences, any organization can provide when it comes to public speaking, which is a key element in successful, effective communicating. What I'd like to share today are a few ways that you can make each and every meeting the most productive for you to get the most out of your membership. So I would like to talk about 5 elements of a meeting, and that is the Toastmaster, the Topics Master, the Speaker, the Evaluator, and what I will put in the other roles. And even though they're minor compared to those big 4, you'll soon understand why they're equally as important, and they are designed to help you improve other public speaking skills. So first, let's talk about the Toastmaster. The Toastmaster not only helps you develop public speaking skills, but there's some organization and leadership skills built into that position. Because to run an effective meeting, and that's the job of a Toastmaster, to run an effective meeting, it takes some planning and organization, and sometimes a little prodding here and there to get different members to perform certain roles. But once the Toastmaster takes command of this room, or whatever room they're in, it's the Toastmaster's job to make sure everything runs smoothly. That means watching the clock. If somebody's going a little overtime, it's time for the Toastmaster to sort of stand up and signal that that person's time is through. The Toastmaster needs to help the meeting flow. And you don't always need a theme, but often having a theme, that's building another skill. Because sometimes you'll be asked to run a meeting with a specific theme. And so if you have practiced with various themes, you're that much better prepared. But what we have to be careful about is not to let the theme take over the meeting. An example, I've seen this happen in clubs where a Toastmaster is so concerned with getting all of these things that they prepared out. Because I spent a lot of time preparing this theme on whatever topic. I want to share this information. They do so sacrificing some of the other key parts of the meeting. Maybe topics has to be cut short because you run out of time. Maybe the meeting goes over. So the Toastmaster needs to follow the theme, but also make sure that everything else comes first. A theme just complements it. And the really effective Toastmaster blends that theme in with everything else to make that meeting a whole circle rather than jumbled pieces that aren't together. And that takes some extra skill. And so when a Toastmaster becomes a little bit more accomplished, comfortable in the role, they can maybe take more difficult themes and still blend those together and make everything in the meeting run smoothly. So that's a goal of a Toastmaster. And it takes some work, and it takes some forethought of how you're going to do that. If you have a topic of X and your first speaker has a topic of Y, how are you going to blend your theme into that speech and then come back out of it into your theme effectively? It can be done, but it might take some thought before the meeting rather than trying to come up with it on the fly when you're at the podium. So that's a job of a Toastmaster. And the better you get in the position, the more you should start challenging yourself for different things. Next, we have the speaking role, which is why we all come to Toastmasters, to give presentations, to develop our skills at public speaking. And one of the best things we can do, especially when we're new Toastmasters, is follow the manual. Toastmasters provides an excellent training tool with the first manual they give, as well as all of the advanced manuals. If you really want to maximize your time in Toastmasters, read that manual, study that manual, and incorporate the lessons in each speech into what you're doing. I have seen people that while they're doing a speech on visual aids, they decide they don't really want to do the visual aids, and they talk about something else, but they still get credit for that manual speech. And it sort of defeats the purpose. If you do each assignment as laid out in that manual, they build upon each other, and they help with all of these different skills that make a polished speaker. And so following those and adhering to them and doing your best to try to accomplish the goals set for each speech will make you a better public speaker. And then you will have the necessary skills to go in and succeed with the advanced manuals, which ask you to do more things on top of what you've already built in that beginner's manual, 10 speeches. And just like the first manual, if you pay attention to the lessons and really try to incorporate those goals, it will help you improve. Now, if you have finished all of the manuals and mastered everything else, go out and get advanced training and other speakers training from other resources. Bring it back to Toastmasters to practice, because this is the perfect place to practice new things. Whether it's new from a manual or new from somewhere else, practice it here, because you have a supportive environment with positive, constructive feedback to help you improve those skills. There is no better place to practice your public speaking skills than in this room with fellow Toastmasters. So that is the key to becoming a better speaker through this organization. Next, we have table topics. Table topics is the chance for everybody to practice impromptu speaking, thinking off the cuff, being put on the spot and have to come up with an answer right now. Now there's two elements. You have the topics master as well as the people answering the questions. The topics master's job is to, again, when you're in control of the room, to run the meeting effectively and give people opportunities to develop their impromptu speaking. One thing that I believe, and not everybody believes this and agrees with me, but I don't think you should ever have a guest involved in topics for a couple reasons. One, the guest might be somebody that's afraid of speaking. You don't want to put them on the spot in the first time they've ever come to a meeting. Two, you're sacrificing the time of the paying members and taking away their opportunity that they have paid for to speak when you're spending time convincing, nudging, convincing guests to give it a try. Go ahead. I'll give you an easy question. Guests should just see how everybody else performs at topics, get excited to say, because after the meeting, you can talk to those guests. Well, I could never stand up and ask her a question. Yes, you can. And you would do it great if you did so after you've joined Toastmasters. Then they develop those skills as well. When you're answering questions, you never want to say, I don't want to answer that, I want to talk about this. And believe it or not, I've seen people in meetings say that exact same thing and then talk about something completely irrelevant to the question, defeating the purpose of the exercise. What you should do, if you want to talk about something, I'm just itching to talk about this topic, you need to find a creative transition to get from the question to that topic which looks seamless and makes sense. Sometimes I'll do that to challenge myself. I'll write something down on a piece of paper and put it out on the table, and when I answer my question, I'll work that in, and then I'll show people later that, see, I knew I was going to talk about that. But you got to come up with that transition. Evaluations. Fourth important role in Toastmasters. The evaluator is critical to helping that speaker improve. And we want to give evaluations that are supportive, but also constructive to help that person grow and advance. Telling they're wonderful every time they speak isn't really helping them grow. But we want to make sure that those evaluations are tailored to each individual. A brand new speaker who's super nervous up here, you're going to be a little softer and more encouraging than somebody that's been in Toastmasters for years who maybe needs a little extra nitpicking to help some of those skills. So we want to tailor our evaluations to the person to help them grow the most. And it helps us become better speakers when we learn to evaluate others, because that is a skill that we can take into our personal and professional lives when we give feedback to others about a variety of things, job performance, whatever. So it's another skill that we're developing. Last, I would like to talk about the little roles that don't mean much, that sometimes are just handed out at the spur of the moment or when somebody walks in the door. And those are things like the joke master or the thought of the day. Sometimes that was an invocation if the club still have invocations. Those are designed to improve your public speaking as well. Telling a joke is a skill. Standing up and reading a joke that you printed off the internet right before the meeting isn't helping your joke-telling skills. Preparing, practicing, and being able to stand up, command the room, and tell a humorous joke or story is a skill. And we should look at it like that and do our very best in preparation to use Toastmasters as an opportunity to improve. Some clubs still have an invocation, which is a different kind of speaking. Again, it takes some practice and rehearsal to have that kind of speaking. If it's a thought of the day, you can still incorporate that into a speaking role, practice giving that thought professionally, rather than just, oh, I have a thought somewhere here, Abraham Lincoln said, that's not developing our skills. So if we want to maximize our time in the meeting, we're going to develop all of those roles, and we're going to use those roles to become better. And that only helps the club become better, and it makes the guests say, wow, these guys are sharp. I want to join and be able to do that too. And we also want to try to incorporate the word of the day which comes. You know, we have Stoic here today. I happened to read a book a couple weeks ago, The Obstacle is the Way, which was all about how being stoic can help you be more successful in different things in life. So we have to find ways to include that word, because that's just another little skill that Toastmasters has built in to help us. So I know everybody here is here for the same reason, and that's to become better and to help the rest of the club become better. And I really hope that these few strategies that I've shared today will help you do that and help all of us grow as public speakers and as fellow Toastmasters. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. As I look at